Hello, and welcome to this series of podcasts all about online education and online schooling. I'm Adam Steele, Senior Communications Executive at Cambridge. Today we're going to be exploring well-being in online schools, and I'm joined by two special guests. Lewis Bone is the Online Schools Development Manager here at Cambridge, and Dr. Ali Fisher is Manager of Advanced Studies Programs at Florida Virtual School. Welcome both.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me too.
Good to have you both here. So before we get into the main theme of this episode, can you both introduce yourselves and share a little bit about your roles at Cambridge and the Florida Virtual School? So, Lewis, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everyone, my name is Lewis Bone, and as Adam mentioned, I'm the Online Schools Development Manager here at Cambridge. And my main role primarily is to take online schools through the approval process as they look to become a Cambridge approved online school. And then I have the joy of being able to support that school's relationship with Cambridge thereafter, which means that I get to actually see many examples of what I would consider to be best practice of online education up close. And I'm going to be referring to some of those today.
Excellent. And Ali, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. My name is Dr. Ali Fisher. I am the manager of our advanced studies programs at Florida Virtual School. I oversee our advanced studies programs and their correlating assessments for students enrolled in our virtual school district. We offer students many different opportunities to accelerate their learning through ACE courses with Cambridge, advanced placement courses with College Board, and industry certification programs. I've worked at Florida Virtual School for more than 13 years. Prior to the role I'm currently in, I was an administrator for our full-time elementary school and high school, and also an administrator with our FLVS Flex option. Prior to joining FLVS, I was an elementary school teacher and assistant principal in Hillsborough County in the state of Florida. I have an educational leadership doctorate in organizational leadership with a specialization in human resources.
Perfect. So now our listeners have got to know you both a little bit better. We'll dive into some of our questions. I want to know, what are some of the key strategies you've seen work well when we're talking about well-being in online schools? Lewis, you recently wrote a blog for the Cambridge International site, and we will link that in the show notes so everybody can take a look back at that. What are some of the key strategies that you pull out in that?
Yeah, so I think before answering any of the questions on well-being, it's important, I think, to come up with a bit of a loose definition of what we all mean by that in an online education context, or in fact, any wider education context. And that is that all of my answers that I'll give here, they're looking through a bit of a lens that student well-being, it's not just something that's a supportive element here, but it's something that's really considered to be foundational for academic success and personal growth for all of the students. And there is a bit of a perception that exists out there that the absence of face-to-face interaction, it could even hamper emotional, social, and psychological aspects of a student's education. And as a result, what we did in the online education team at Cambridge is we did a piece of research with 20 of our online schools. And from that, we were able to pick out some key strategies that we think really worked well. And this research project, it all centered around a question, which is, can online schools meaningfully address the well-being needs of their students? And the blog that you referenced there is what talks about this in a little bit more detail. So I mentioned that we surveyed about 20 of our Cambridge-approved online schools globally. And the research showed us some really interesting things. That was that all of the schools surveyed had some element of social emotional learning and PSHE lessons within their curriculum. Quite a lot had access to specialist support, and an increasing number as well had access to homerooms, form groups, and learning coaches. And about half of our online schools that we surveyed had access for their students to extracurricular clubs. They were a free option, as I say, in about half of our online schools. And the research shows that those extracurricular clubs, they helped build community in a really non-pressured environment. There was a wide range on offer as well, including some fun ones that we really didn't expect that we'd see, like psychology, coding, DJing, debating clubs. So they were able to really follow the interests of the students to really build that sense of belonging for their well-being. And also, this isn't always possible, but where possible, physical meetups. So if an online school has the majority of its students in one physical region or location, it's possible to draw them all together to have meaningful social opportunities.
Okay. So referencing your blog, Lewis, it talks about technology within that piece. Could you tell me a little bit more about how online schools are using technology?
Yeah, this was another unexpected outcome, something that we actually didn't expect to see a significant amount of our online schools using. But yeah, so some schools in the survey, they said that they were using compulsory apps to monitor well-being. So some of the names of the apps that we saw being mentioned were EI Pulse, Thrively, and Tranquility. And they're apps that once the students use, they're able to build an understanding of that student's well-being relating to different areas of their education and how they personally feel like they belong within the school. Some of the schools also use the Cambridge Wellbeing Check alongside an in-house survey. And in answer directly to your question, Adam, when you said, what are some of the best strategies? Well, some of the schools that were doing this the most effectively, they were actually triangulating all three of those previous points. They were using apps, they were using in-house surveys to judge their student and parental understanding of well-being, and the Cambridge Wellbeing Check. And from all three of those points, schools were able to get a really clear understanding of their students' well-being, which could then be formed into action plans.
Great, thank you, Lewis. So, Ali, I'd like to come to you now. So FLVS has been a pioneer in online education for over 25 years now. So how does Florida Virtual School support student mental health and well-being in a fully online setting?
We do all of the things that Lewis highlights in his article discussing addressing students' well-being and those key strategies. But FLVS approaches the support of students' mental health and well-being. We align with the Florida Department of Education. We focus on building resilient students through character development, personal responsibility, mentorship and citizenship, and critical thinking and problem-solving skills. We work to achieve these standards by training our staff on developing strong relationships with students, and also training staff on how to see the signs of mental health struggles in students. And to our students and parents, we offer such a wide variety of opportunities for them to engage and support their mental health and well-being. So we offer Wellness Wednesdays, which is a weekly program designed to promote resiliency and well-being through interactive sessions. Students learn about topics such as problem solving, teamwork, stress management, self-care, and coping strategies to navigate life's successes and challenges. We also have small group and individual counseling. We provide small group support tailored to help students with social skill development and those experiencing challenges like anxiety or grief. We also offer one-on-one counseling using solution-focused brief therapy to help students build that resiliency that we talk about. And also leading into that resiliency skill building session so students can learn how to bounce back from challenges in crucial, which is why every Florida public school is also required to provide students in grades 6 through 12 with at least 5 hours of mental health instruction each year. Our initiatives focus on teaching students how to handle adversity, develop a growth mindset, and build emotional strength. Through workshops and ongoing support, we empower students to face life confidently. And then lastly, monthly parent sessions. So student success is a team effort, and families play a key role. That's why we offer monthly parent sessions to provide guidance on supporting students academically and emotionally. And the topics in those sessions range from mental health awareness to effective communication strategies between parents and maybe their teenage children. So we want students to also advocate for their mental health and well-being so students can self-refer anytime they feel like they're struggling emotionally to our student services teams. So we found that students are actually more willing to open up in the virtual environment. They feel comfortable behind the screen, and providing them with the opportunities to do that is really key. So building rapport and establishing comfort with students, a lot more privacy and access to help. And FLVS has a very robust team that is here to serve our students. And we also have a library of resources for students and families to access on demand. So they don't have to wait for someone to be on the clock to get live help. They can offer access a virtual library to get help and support anytime they need it.
That's quite a list, which is definitely a good thing. You mentioned so many things that I wanted to pick up on there. Was it Welcome Wednesdays or Wellbeing Wednesdays? I'd like the idea of that.
Wellbeing Wednesdays.
Wellbeing
yes.
Wednesdays. I'd like to implement that in the office, I think, Lewis. That'd be a nice one.
We'll send you a link. You can join
That'd be
us.
great. Yeah. But you mentioned resilience quite a bit there as well, and also connection, which brings us on to our next question quite nicely as well. Because we've talked about what can be done in the wellbeing space with online schools, but I want to know about the challenges now. So what are some of the biggest challenges that online students face when it comes to mental health and social connection? Ali, shall we come to you first on this one?
Sure. Students may not have as much peer interactions in the virtual setting because a lot of the things or sessions that we offer are optional, and not all students are going to take advantage or access the opportunities to interact. So social isolation can be one of the challenges that online students face, especially if they're shy or they're struggling and going through something. They may tend to become more recluse and not reach out and engage in those opportunities. But most certainly it's not the case with all kids, but access to resources can also be the case. So our student services team members, they have to get parent permission to work with students. So when we talked about the students self-referring, our student services team does still have to reach out to the parent and make sure it's okay for them to provide support to the student. If we could change one thing that might help with identifying students in need, it would have to be more face-to-face interactions with our students. So that way we're able to see those unspoken cues and provide the support when we see it's needed.
And when you say face-to-face, does that mean through camera or?
So a lot of all of our classes offer face-to-face class time where the students are turning the camera on. Again, it's completely optional in the student's comfort level, whether or not they want to turn their camera on during class time. And then also with our program, we offer face-to-face meetups like Lewis talked about previously. So our students are spread out all across the state of Florida, and so are our teachers. So that makes for an awesome opportunity for teachers to meet up with students. So throughout the state, teachers will have meetup sessions with their students, doing fun, engaging activities. It may even be a community service project where students are doing a trash pickup in a park. And students have the opportunity to participate in those. And then we also have field trips as well, where students visit St. Augustine to tour the forts and participate in field trip with their actual classmates. So they get to see them not only virtually behind the computer screen, but also face-to-face meetups. And we do have, for our students in our full-time high school, we have a live graduation. So all the students come to UCF at the end of the school year to walk across a physical stage and receive their high school diploma. And that's a really cool opportunity to see the kiddos come together, and the excitement and energy in the room. You often can't get them to stop talking to get them to actually practice the graduation ceremony.
It's important to mention that, I think, Ali, because that is one of the misconceptions, that links to the challenges that you were just speaking to there. And that is that not many people know that physical meetups are an option for online schools. And FLVS is a great example of a school with its physical student body within a certain location. But that's one of a number of examples I know of online schools globally that organize that. They will also coordinate travel if it's something that's on the continent, for example. But yeah, it's something that is very possible and really meaningful to build that belonging.
Absolutely. I don't know who likes it more, the teachers or the students.
Yeah. Must be a bit of a trip for everyone to see each other for the first time in person, because we always get in Cambridge as well, where we work remotely and we see someone for the first time and we think, oh, you're taller than I thought you were, or oh, you stand differently to how I expected. And to have that on a school-wide scale of faculty and pupils would be quite interesting.
Right. Sometimes it's a struggle, right? To just even get out of your home office. You're used to just walking to your desk in your home. You're like, oh, I've got to go out today. But once you get out, I think seeing people face to face is so invigorating. And I always leave our face to face interactions feeling energized and kind of refreshed.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. I'm the same kind of person. Lewis, do you want to comment on challenges?
Well, actually, I want to pick up on that word challenge, but I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk by it because it's something that we in the online education team, we really work hard to try and counter misconceptions. And there is a misconception out there. That's that there is a perceived isolation that online students not engaging in physical face-to-face learning somehow inhibits the development of their social skills. But online schools really do a lot to address this. So we at Cambridge, we've done another piece of research recently that focused a lot on connection and community in online schools. And what it really showed is some best practice of what online education looks like at its best, what we would consider to be best practice. And some examples of that are that the best online teachers that we saw, they provided opportunities for non-learning talk to improve mental and social connection. They provided opportunities for collective encounters, such as assemblies or meetings that involve students beyond a single class and involve group work projects. And also, teachers really worked hard to provide quick responses to messages from students to improve interaction speed. Also worth mentioning, I think here, that when students are learning online, they often finish the day earlier as they're able to condense their learning hours that really suit them into a smaller school day, essentially, which gives them more time to socialize in person, in their community, or take part in extracurricular activities.
Great. So as we're talking about education, in every educational conversation that I guess people have these days, we're going to start talking about the future and technology. So what I'd like to know now is, are there any new trends or innovations in online education that particularly excite you? Ali, let's come to you for this one.
Sure. So I think, of course, the big buzzword in education right now is AI, and how you safely integrate AI into curriculum and instruction, and then also harnessing it with nurturing students' well-being as well. So, everyone is continuing to pursue how AI can assist what we do with students and figuring out how to include it in counseling and mental wellness without taking away the human interaction component that is so critical to making students feel like they belong or they have someone out there that cares and wants to support them about it. You don't want it to become robotic because it definitely then becomes insincere. So also all of our student support services team has just gone through a new training called Dialect and Behavioral Therapy, referred to as DBT. It's a new program. Again, all of our mental health counselors are working through the training, and we're one of the first school districts in the state of Florida to be trained on this new approach to therapy. So we're really excited about integrating that into the work that our mental health counselors do with our students and families.
That does sound really interesting. It sounds like at the start of that journey as well. So maybe we'll have to come back to you in a few months and find out what's happening.
Absolutely.
All right. Lewis, same question to you. So how do you see technology affecting this area?
I'm actually going to give a very similar answer to Ali on this, and I'm going to go for the AI answer. And it's exciting to see that LMSs are really developing a lot at the moment as well. So we've got another few Cambridge blogs about this, but how LMSs have evolved and developed over the years to move away from things like Zoom and Teams that were very much built for business meetings, and how they've incorporated new features that really benefit learning. So some of the LMSs that I've seen used over the last few years, they've increasingly used AI and statistics, all with a view of monitoring engagement, monitoring students' contributions in breakout rooms when teachers aren't there, being able to see exactly what's going on, for example. But Wellbeing is a great example of something that AI could potentially impact. So if there are, for example, a group of students that you are perhaps concerned about the well-being of, but you are not looking at what they're doing in perhaps a small breakout room, then if AI could be monitoring the interactions, monitoring the perhaps tone of voice, the eye contacts, the way that these students are talking about themselves and about each other, it's possible that AI could flag well-being concerns for teachers in ways that aren't currently being looked at. So that's something that I'm quite excited to see evolve over the next few years, and I'm confident that it's certainly on the way, if not already there somewhere that I'm just not aware of.
Great answer. It definitely seems like AI, any sort of conversation you have in education at the moment goes to AI, so I don't blame you, Lewis, for talking about that as well. So that's thinking about, I suppose, the future, and it doesn't have to be AI. It could be any piece of advice. But if you were to give one piece of key advice to schools looking to improve student well-being in online education, what would it be? Lewis, let's come back to you first for this one.
Well, first of all, I'd say embrace some of those technological innovations that are coming down the line. So it can be perhaps human disposition to be quite standoffish about new developments, especially with the ethical and cultural considerations of AI. But I'd say try them out and embrace them. So a few months ago, I attended and presented at a conference on the topic of well-being about how students feel like they belong in online education. And one of the most powerful elements of that presentation that we gave was that we had students with us that actually fed their voice into the presentation and shared their experience. And it's worth mentioning that they are somewhat experts on this, because it's worth noting that a significant proportion of online students who are in online education have chosen to learn this way because of well-being issues, perhaps, that maybe made physical classrooms unsuitable for them. So being able to learn this way actually improves some students' well-being. It's really worth then, I think, highlighting that those are voices that should be captured when schools are developing well-being policy, well-being action plans, because it's ultimately them who it's going to affect and monitor and benefit the most. So ask students what they think on this, because they will, I'm sure, be able to tell you things that you wouldn't have considered.
That's a great answer. And who knows student well-being, I suppose, better than the student themselves and what sort of place they're in. Excellent. Okay, Ali, coming to you on the same question. So one piece of advice to schools looking to improve student well-being.
I'd like to piggyback on what Lewis just said. I think it's all about student voice and choice. It comes all down to the relationships that we're building with our students, making connections with the students, ensuring that they all know that they have someone on our staff that knows their name and is going to be their champion in their corner. I think with virtual education, a big stereotype is less access, but it's actually quite the opposite. Virtual, to me, opens up the access to all who need it. So we can create resilient learners, and we want them to have all the necessary skills and resources to see them through life's successes and challenges, and know that they always have someone they can come back to that's going to advocate for them or just be an ear to listen to their concerns, their frustrations, celebrate their successes with them. I think a great TED Talk to listen to when it just comes back to students' well-being is Rita Pearson's Every Kid Needs a Champion. At Florida Virtual School, we all want to be the champion for every kid that signs up for any course that they take with us.
That's a really fantastic TED Talk, Ali. I've watched that a number of times, and I think that that's shown to most students in the UK when they're studying for teaching degrees. I think I remember seeing that in my first year of education, which really set the tone for well-being.
Right. And that's what you want to be for your students. You want them also to know that you're there for them. And I think the most important thing is that our students know that the teacher is a real person. They're not just a face behind a camera or typed words on a screen that they're reading when they receive feedback on their assignments. That teacher is a real person that really cares about them and their success, not just in their course, but in life in general.
Yeah, I really like that idea as a teacher, as a champion. I definitely had a few when I was at school. So where can listeners go to find out more information on online student wellbeing resources? Ali, would you like to point people to anything from FLVS or anything else?
Absolutely. So you can find additional information about FLVS on our website, www.flvs.net. We have a wealth of resources for families on our website, and it's a great way to learn more about what FLVS has to offer in general. Also on our website under blogs, you can read our newly released blog post on building student resiliency, wraparound support in online schools, which was written by Dr. Amy Hall. She's our administrator of student services.
Great. And we will link all of those in the show notes so you've got them. Lewis, have you got anywhere that you'd like to point people towards?
Yeah, so I'd love to point people in the direction of Cambridge Online's newsletter. So this is something quite new that we've developed at Cambridge, and it contains links to a series of different webinars, blogs, and podcasts and recordings, all that explore topics like well-being, such as we're talking about here today, and a multitude of other topics as well. Earlier in the chat, I mentioned to you about the Cambridge Wellbeing Check. We'll include the notes of that from the Cambridge website so that people can check that out a bit more up close. And also I'm going to mention about the Cambridge Wellbeing curriculum. These are a series of bespoke lessons for the primary and lower secondary part of the Cambridge pathway that our online and physical schools are able to use. It's not something I've mentioned about so far in this, but it definitely deserves a mention. And we'll put the link down below so people can read more about it.
Thanks. Thank you very much. So that's all we have time for today, unfortunately. Thanks to my two guests, to Ali Fisher and Lewis Bone. Don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues about us, and remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also find all of our podcasts on our online education insight page on our website at cambridgeinternational.org. Our show notes, as we mentioned before, have lots of useful links that we've mentioned throughout, so be sure to take a look at them. They're below in the YouTube description. And you can also follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at CambridgeINT. Thanks for listening, and we hope you join us again soon.